Caitlin Clark hid nothing with Eileen after Winter Olympics stars backlash. Caitlin Clark made her stance clear during a high-profile appearance alongside Eileen as the Winter Olympics star continues to face backlash in the aftermath of the Games. Fresh off the 2026 Milan Winter Games, six-time Olympic medalist shared that she attended the Prada show alongside the WNBA star, posting a photo of the pair to her Instagram story. Clark, who is preparing for her third season with the Indiana Fever, later reshared the image. Video from the event showed the two laughing and chatting from their seats. The American-born freestyle skier who has faced scrutiny for competing for China, her mother's homeland, added 3 more medals to her resume at the Games, 4 years after her Olympic debut in Beijing. She successfully defended her gold medal in the halfpipe, but earned silver in both big air and slopestyle, having won gold in the former in Beijing. Gu's gold medal victory was tempered by personal tragedy, as she learned shortly afterward that her grandmother had passed away. She was a steamship, an emotional Gu told reporters. This woman commanded life, and she grabbed it by the reins, and she made it into what she wanted it to be. The last time I saw her before I came to the Olympics, she was very sick, so I knew that this was a possibility. I didn't promise her that I was going to win, but I did promise her that I was going to be brave. She's been brave. After her final event, Gu revealed she would be shifting her focus to fashion. It's Fashion Week in Milan, Gu told AFP. I have the other job, the other fashion thing. I'm really excited to just explore some other avenues, be creative, and explore my femininity through fashion, which is something I've always loved, and to kind of put that in juxtaposition with skiing and with sports. And I think they coexist so beautifully, and so I hope to represent that next week in Milan. Former NFL MVP Boomerasian criticized Eileen Gu's behavior in interviews at the Olympics, calling the 22-year-old attractive, but insufferable. If you listen to her, you're like, what? The former MVP said to Greg Giannotti, his one co-host. He added that he is not a fan of how Gu conducts herself during press conferences, calling out how the star is tough to listen to, in his own opinion. She's a very, very attractive woman and she's extremely bright. She went to Stanford, he continued. But if you listen to her post-participation interviews, she's insufferable. She is. It's hard to listen to. But then again, it's an individual sport and an individual person talking about herself as opposed to talking about her teammates or the support she receives. Eileen added that while he believes Gu is exceptionally bright and that she knew how she's gonna answer things, but did not elaborate further. Caitlin Clark hid nothing with Eileen Gu after Winter Olympics stars backlash. Prologue. Icons in the arena of public attention. In the early months of 2026, 2 of the world's most captivating female athletes, Caitlin Clark and Eileen Gu, found themselves at the intersection of sport, society, and spectacle. Each, in her own arena, had commanded attention not merely for victories or statistics, but for the stories they told about ambition, identity, backlash, and transcendence. Clark, the transcendent force of women's basketball, had turned the sport into a cultural phenomenon. Gu, the globetrotting freestyle skiing star, had done the same in winter sport, though not without controversy. In the midst of this dynamic climate, the pair's public alignment at Milan Fashion Week became more than just a photo op. It symbolized an era where elite athletes are also cultural personalities. 2. Eileen Gu, triumph on snow and turbulence in public discourse. Eileen Gu's 2026 Winter Olympics performance was nothing short of historic. She claimed multiple medals, including a gold in the halfpipe, making her the most decorated freestyle skier in Olympic history. Yet this athletic excellence was wrapped in layers of tension far beyond the snow. Gu's career has always existed at the crossroads of identity. Born and raised in the United States but competing for China, her nationality choice has stirred conversation well before Milan 2026. During the Games, social and political observers seized upon this duality, prompting debate about loyalty, representation, and personal agency. In press settings, she fielded tough questions about her performance, including whether her silver medals were lost golds, and answered with unshakable confidence, asserting pride in her accomplishments rather than regret for what might have been. But the backlash wasn't only about athletic achievement. Commentators and critics in the US questioned her decision to represent China, with some labeling her comments or choices as controversial or divisive. Across social media and traditional outlets alike, this narrative grew into a more complex discourse about identity, media framing, nationalism, and the politics of sport. GU, meanwhile, pressed forward, and with remarkable candor. Her responses to negative commentary on and off the snow reflected a candid self-possession mixed with introspection. She refused to shy away from identity questions and instead reframed them around what sport meant to her. In doing so, she emphasized that excellence, authenticity, and personal narrative need not be confined to single definitions or comfort zones. 3. Caitlin Clark, a basketball star embracing the wider world. Simultaneously in the world of women's basketball, Caitlin Clark was carving out her own cultural imprint. Known for her record-breaking scoring, electric charisma, and role in elevating the WNBA's profile, Clark had become a figure whose presence transcended basketball. Her impact increased with each high-stakes game, each social media highlight, and each moment fans shared online. While it would be an oversimplification to describe Clark as untouched by controversy, media narratives and rivalries followed her. Her journey had largely been defined by her sporting brilliance and the enthusiasm she inspired in diverse fan communities. Clark's public persona exuded confidence without brashness, ambition without artifice. She had a way of being herself even when the whole world watched. It was this directness that made her connection with GU, even if informal or incidental, something that asked us to look beyond headlines. 4. Milan Fashion Week, a meeting of worlds. Their encounter at Milan Fashion Week was more than a fleeting celebrity moment. Front row at a Prada show during the ongoing fashion celebration in Italy, Caitlin Clark and Eileen appeared relaxed and present, two young women emblematic of elite sport and modern celebrity simultaneously. Clark's chic, composed presence, paired with Gu's grace and international stature in both fashion and sport, created a striking tableau. Athletes not just performing in athletic arenas, but commanding spaces of culture, creativity, and global influence. In the context of Gu's Olympic backlash, what could have been interpreted as a calculated alliance instead felt disarmingly genuine. Here were two athletes, neither hiding from scrutiny, standing side by side, not for controversy, but for the simple act of being part of something larger than themselves. Clark, in particular, made no attempt to distance or obscure that moment. Social media captured, reshared, and amplified their presence together, a statement more about camaraderie than conflict. For observers, this suggested something deeper, that the most resonant figures in sport today aren't merely competitors in their disciplines, but narrators of their own stories in a worldwide audience. In showing up with GU, unguarded, visible, and unapologetic, Clark affirmed that public life in sport is as much about authenticity as it is about achievement. Backlash, identity, and an intersection of narratives. To understand the wider significance of this moment, it's crucial to revisit the backlash Eileen faced. Critics, ranging from political figures to sports commentators, spotlighted her nationality choice and her responses to press cop questions. Some of this commentary invoked narratives of betrayal or conflicting loyalties, especially from voices steeped in American nationalism or charged political rhetoric. Others critiqued perceived aloofness or confidence bordering on self-assertion in her public statements, interpretations that reflected broader cultural divides about how public figures should speak, behave, and represent themselves. Yet, when GU stood beside Clark, it reframed the discussion subtly but meaningfully. Clark, whose primary public identity comes from transcendent performance rather than geopolitical tension, offered a visual counterbalance. It humanized GU in a different light, not as a controversial figure, but as an athlete in person navigating the kinds of scrutiny that accompany success today. Their presence together invited audiences to see GU beyond the backlash, to recognize her as a multifaceted individual with passions and presence beyond discussion threads and political commentary. 6. The broader cultural landscape. Athletes as narrative agents. The post-Olympic and post-season world we're living in now is one in which athletes don't just play games, they tell stories. Those stories play out on global stages, sporting arenas, fashion weeks, Instagram feeds, national conversations, and international dialogue. Clark and GU, in separate yet parallel ways, embody this shift. Clark emerged from the basketball world not just as a star but as someone whose influence reshaped public interest in women's sport. GU blurred the boundaries between sport, identity, and cultural conversation, challenging simple narratives about nationality, expectation, and representation. Their brief public moment together reminds us that athletes today are